Hello, lore heads, and welcome to The League, exploring the League of Legends lore from A to Z. My name is Rebecca.
And I'm John.
My name is Mark.
And today we have a guest. Yay! If you'd like to introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Eric. I am, or NA Erik is my, I guess, League persona. I am the host of the Trinity Force Podcast. Basically, we are the longest running non-Riot sponsored League of Legends podcast and go over everything from patch notes to other types of content, talking about all sorts of different stuff, providing insights on people how to optimize their gameplay and stuff, but also some wacky zany stuff. We host tournaments, that sort of stuff, and I'm glad to be on, and I'm super passionate about this character, so I'm glad I was able to come on for this specific person that we're going to talk about. I didn't want to say the name to make it more ominous and make it more, build the suspense.
Right. Just in case you didn't listen to the last episode where we announced who it
Or
would
look
be.
at the title
or
of
know
this
the alphabet.
Or looked at the title. Yeah, the title's just like 8 question marks.
Autoplay.
Well, we're happy to have you here, and thanks for joining us. And if you haven't heard, we also joined the Trinity Force Podcast for one of their episodes. We have that linked in our Discord and on our Twitter page. So if you haven't heard that yet, you should hop on over and listen to that and other Trinity Force podcasts because they're great.
If you want to know how to actually play League of Legends, we can't help you, but they can.
Yeah, I caught y'all's episode reminiscing about like season 2, season 3, old League, and I really enjoyed that because that's where I live. Like that's what League of Legends is to me, is season 2.
Oh yeah, I think
that was a lot of fun.
I think that was when I was talking with my cousin. Actually, that was the last episode of 2021. That was a lot of fun. Yeah. But if listeners, if you wanted to catch your hosts on the Trinity Force Podcast, it was episode number 752. So there's the specific number if you want to listen.
And that's also a good indicator when they say that they're the longest running League podcast, because you release weekly, right?
Yes, we do.
So, I mean, do with that number what you will.
I'm not good at math. But anyway, today we're talking about the Shadow Reaper Kane. He was released July 12th, 2017. Our newest boy for a while. We've had a lot of old champions lately.
Yeah, this was their return to K with new champions.
They do really like K.
They're like, hey, we forgot our special sauce. What was it again? And someone on the champ team was like, I think it was K, right?
The letter
like,
K.
Yep. That's it.
I forgot it existed.
You could tell the champions knew, because I'll go to look up their voices, because I always remember we're going to do an impression, obviously. So I'll go to look up voice lines, and I'm scrolling for hours through their voice lines because there's so freaking many of them. Kane has so many voice lines.
He really does.
There's a lot to him.
Yeah. So who wants to kick off impressions?
Well, I guess it's a question
give it
of
to the guest.
Well, I was going to say that the thing is we have 4 separate like VOs that we can pull from, right? Because we have normal Kane, normal Rhaast, Shadow Assassin, and then full Darken Rhaast, and they all have different lines and sound different.
Well, then you pick your poison.
Yeah, I like that.
Which one stirs your pot?
Oh, am I supposed to go first here?
No, we didn't decide. It's fine.
No, it's fine. I mean,
I like that idea though.
I mean, I did actually watch the skin spotlight videos from when he came out about all of the interactions and the voice lines, and some of them were super interesting. Some of them were kind of boring and repetitive, but I don't think I can do impressions of any of them very well. But I will say that the banter between Kayn and Rhaast when it's just in Kane form is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say I was a little sad that we didn't get more of it in the lore, really, because that's just reading and listening to
no post Rhaast shit, really.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll get to that in a second, but really it was all the boring parts of Kane's life. That was the lore. I'm like, can I get the Venom part, after he has this darkened blade and he's fighting for control over his brain? That's delightful. Very Golem, Mm-hmm. All right. So
take it away.
Who?
I'll do it. Okay.
Thank you.
So this is when he places a ward. He says, "For those who cannot see in the dark, which is real sassy.
Ooh.
I just thought all of his word shit's so funny. If he destroys a word, he's like, I don't need this. And then when he puts words, he's like, I don't need this. Like, okay, Kane, Jesus.
How cocky.
Right?
He knows his audience, man.
Junglers, they don't fucking word. No, they
No,
word
League
more
of
than
Legends
anyone
players.
else. Oh, that too.
All right, I'll go. The true assassin kills one to save many. Such noble lies. Save no one. It's so liberating.
They're fucking great. Like, this is power. Disgusting. I love it.
The only one that I can think of off the top of my head is when Rhaast is taken over and he dies. So then he goes, so that's what dying feels like. Good thing I'm immortal.
Rhaast is so much fun.
He is.
Rhaast, the full like Dark and Rhaast VO, it could just be a champion. He's tons of fun.
Yeah.
I have like 4 quotes for him because I was like, I don't know which of these I want to say. They're all so fun. He's got one where he's just like the Kool-Aid guy and he goes, oh yeah.
What?
I really peaked the audio on that one.
See that?
Rhaast, easily top 10 Darkin.
I mean, there's 3 Darkin, John. And one of them's Aatrox. So yeah, he's gonna beat that. Is that how you say that, by the way, Ross?
Yeah.
Yes.
We're sure. Okay, thank you.
Although I did notice in one video, I don't remember what it was. It might have been the champion spotlight or no. It was one of the voice lines that I saw, and maybe it's been fixed since he was released. But at one point, Kane says Rhaast, so there was a mess up there.
I bet.
Yeah, I hate that, so.
Yes.
John, I don't like how that's pronounced.
That's got the word ass in it. We can't have that
Back
in
that
our
Rhaast up. You know what I mean?
podcast.
That just sounds how like Rhaast's grandma would say something. Hey Rhaast, come here real quick.
Right? His Bostonian grandma. Hey,
Rhaast. Rhaast, get this out of the car. Oh, shit. All right. Sorry, Boston.
pack that scimitar somewhere.
You're just doing an impression of your mom now.
A little bit.
Wait, you're Rhaast? Oh shit. Okay.
So Kane has a bio and 2 short stories linked on his universe page. Kind of, because one of the short stories is from his AU, which has never been linked on a universe page before.
First time on Lorehead's history that an AU short story, and let me tell you,
It's not short.
story is a kindness, but first time that anything AU has been linked on the universe, so big step.
I feel like that's not true because I'm pretty sure like
shit.
the Harmonies
What?
comic was linked for like a Kali. I want to bet. I would bet money
I don't
that
remember.
KDA stuff is linked on a Kali's universe page.
Maybe.
That's my bet.
KDA did get really popular.
That's true.
But this is certainly the
But
first short story, I think.
They I will say they host all the comics on Universe, so I guess it makes sense to cross post those. But typically, like the AU, even the AU stories, like they're not on like if you try to look up High Noon short stories on Universe, like you're in for a bad time.
So weird.
This is like the only short story really that I can think of.
Did y'all read it? I didn't. I know John did.
I did.
I did not.
I did.
It was so long.
I saw how long it was for one page, and then it was like 1 of 10. I said no.
And I'm a reader, but no. Like, if it were like actually Kane and Rhaast and about them, I would have taken a crack at it.
Now I will say, I'm kind of excited to get into this because that's a bit of we get more in this AU short story than we get in his canon stories,
that's
and
a
it's
bummer.
kind of cool.
Okay.
Yeah. I read this one,
That's-
and I liked it for that reason.
But we'll kick it off with some canon stuff. Who wants to take us through the bio?
I will, because it's all I have notes on.
Okay.
All right, so Kane was a normal boy in Noxus. He was enlisted in the army as a child soldier, I guess a practice from Borum Darkwell, so I don't think that's in effect anymore, because I was really thrown off by that. I'm like, this doesn't sound like Noxus, like recruiting child soldiers. But they were used to fight Ionia, as Ionian soldiers would hesitate before striking down a child. Dark. So Kane was a real good murderer, super great at it. He finds a sickle to slaughter a bunch of people with, and then he just sat there, I guess. I don't know. He killed a bunch of people, and then he was still there 2 days later.
I feel like
Is that how that worked?
Well, I was gonna say, I feel like my read on it was different. He was just kind of a part of
Okay.
like a big bunch of child soldiers who were just like
Yes.
fodder. And I don't think he actually killed many people. He just didn't run away. And then the actual
Yeah.
troops showed up and killed everyone.
Okay,
Is that-
I definitely think he killed some people.
He probably did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he couldn't do it with that big old heavy sword they gave him.
I hated that aspect of the bio, is that he finds a sickle. Because, like, he gets a sickle later. I get that that's his weapon, but, like, he didn't need one now. I don't know. It didn't make any sense to me. But
You know,
anyway.
it felt right in his hand where the sword felt wrong. I
But
felt
later-
a deep connection to this specifically because it reminded me of my favorite fan fiction, my favorite Chrono Trigger fan fiction.
Oh my God, John.
About Magus and him finding a sickle. So this brought me back.
Do I dare ask what Chrono Trigger is?
Oh, honey, how young are you?
I'm 26.
So Chrono Trigger.
It's pretty old. It was an old RPG.
It was for the Super Nintendo for sure.
Okay,
but
I
it is,
never had the Super Nintendo, so
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, if you're
I
26,
will
it makes
say
sense.
it's been re-released on the PlayStation, the PS2, the Nintendo DS, and probably it's available somewhere on the Switch at this point. But it's considered by many to be one of the greatest RPGs of all time.
Yeah,
Many
it's
being
pretty
me.
old. Yeah, John's favorite game of all time.
I see that it's on Steam for $15. So
I mean, if you're into like those kind of older like JRPGs,
It introduces a ton of mechanics that were really, really cool and actually didn't get picked up by a lot of games. Like the whole double and triple text system like got picked up by like Suikoden, but you really don't see that in many places, and it was very, very cool. So
they did do a sequel years later, Chrono Cross, if you've heard of that one. But
yeah, spiritual successor. They have like some, although the fanfic that I mentioned connected the two in a great way.
such a nerd.
Let's bring it back to what's really important. That fanfic.
Yeah. But yeah, if you haven't played Chrono Trigger, you should play it. But we'll
you've convinced me.
Go-
That was a good
Nice.
argument.
Ooh,
I'll play it at some point, probably. Yeah.
the soundtrack's really good too.
Oh yeah, Yasunori Mitsuda did the soundtrack, fucking bop after bop.
All right, so we're about halfway through this Kane bio. Sorry about that. We really went off on a tangent there. So a couple days after that battle, Zed kind of hears about the fight, and he goes to check it out and finds little Kane. He sees potential and recruits Kane to the Order of Shadow. So they say Kane mastered all weapons,
You know.
which is just Jax. He grew really arrogant, feeling like he would soon be better than Zed himself, which kind of leads him to see like a darkened weapon held in Noxus that he wants to steal. So Kane wonders why like he's chosen, because he says that any of the other acolytes like would have destroyed the scythe, but Kane took it for himself. It's named Rhaast. Kane's kind of constantly fighting for control now, but he's also kind of good. Very Venom is kind of what I got from it. And then he returns to Ionia, hoping to be named the new leader for the Order of Shadow. And that's Kane.
Now we
Yeah.
do have a real name alert.
Oh,
on this
yeah.
one, too. His full name, which I did not know until reading this, is Shida Kane.
Yeah, dropping another lore bomb. I will say my read on. I want to say that because he grows arrogant, he actually doesn't question why he is sent to go get this weapon. He's like, of
I
course.
think it said that he wonders why. Like,
I'd have to double.
I thought
maybe
it
I need to
said
look at the text because I thought it said that.
no, maybe
He specifically.
I thought
like,
it specifically
doesn't.
said he didn't wonder why.
Yeah, he's like, of course they went to
Okay,
send me
never
on
mind.
this great thing.
Listen, my reading comprehension, it's not the best.
No, it's all good. I was just like, I guess it speaks a little to his, I don't know, that arrogant personality motivation of his a little. But
Yeah. So, did anything about this bio surprise you, Eric, based on like you playing him, I guess?
So I would say, okay, so to answer your, I mean, I have some things that I thought of about this bio, but specifically for the gameplay, not so much, just because all of this is a precursor to him actually being who he is. That takes place in his color story, so not really, just because this is like, if we had a prequel to Kane, then that's what this would be. It doesn't really fit so much. I mean, granted, like, he enjoys fighting and stuff, sure, but he's meant to be a warrior and stuff. But I did feel like I just took a couple of notes down where the whole the child soldier stuff that was taking place at the beginning, just as a historian, made me think immediately just of like how the USSR would just throw infantry in at like with their war machine at the Germans in World War II. Like it just screamed of that to me with ill equipment and stuff like that. Yeah, and I also thought that when you're saying like you brought up that Kane was able to master everything, made me think a lot of the first Batman movie of the newer trilogy. I think that's what Batman Begins or something, where he's just learning how to use Christian Bale is just learning how to use all sorts of stuff in training with Liam Neeson, and then he's the weapon. It's not about what he's actually using. Yeah, and then like the last paragraph talks about how the corruption took hold when someone grabs the weapon, which just immediately screamed Lord of the Rings to me.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I was gonna say in my notes, I have some reference to Isildur, like throw it in like his color story. They hit a point where it is like cast it into the fire. No.
Yes, it's so true.
No.
I didn't think about that. God damn, I want to watch Lord of the Rings now.
Yeah, we need to. The Batman thing's interesting too, because I kind of saw a little bit of like, I think he's another kind of Robin situation, like him and Zed a little bit in their own weird, dark, kind of twisted way. Especially like in the comic, they read kind of like that, because Zed in there is very serious and honor bound, blah blah, and Kane is very like practical, like kind of snarky right hand man, his little protege. So it's an interesting thing.
Yeah, almost grooming him, not in like the bad way of grooming.
Yeah, very directly, I would say.
I didn't necessarily like the whole mastering every weapon aspect of the story. Like, to your point where he does specifically say afterwards, like, I am the weapon. If he went on and he was like a Lee Sin style, fisticuffs champion after that, where he was actually the weapon, cool. But nah, he's using this really powerful Darken weapon. Like, he might be he's using a weapon, though. Just make him master the scythe. Like, he doesn't need to be master of all weapons if he's never going to use them again.
I felt that was really out of place as well for me when I saw that, because you don't see that anywhere with him in his stories or in his gameplay. He's the master of the scythe, which is possessed by a powerful evil creature. So
it's like Jack saying he doesn't use a real weapon. Like, come on.
To offer a counterpoint, I would say that I can see an argument the other way, although I agree with you, that one of the voice lines when Kane buys stuff, like Rhaast will say, like, that's redundant, or am I not enough, or so. So if you're, in-game buying a sword, then like I can see Kane thinking like, I can use all these different weapons, and then Rhaast is, giving him shit for it. But
that's fun.
That makes Rhaast sound really insecure
he
too.
Does.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, the banter.
What do you need that extra sword for?
I really like the dynamic between them. It made me want to play them or play him. I don't know, them, whatever. Just going and reading all these VOs, like, man, I really liked hearing these two kind of, bicker back and forth almost. It's a lot of fun. But,
play him, Mark. Do it.
Hell yeah.
I might. So we were playing with someone else who was playing him real well. I probably won't, but that's fine.
I could teach you. I got like 100,000 plus mastery on him. I was playing him a few times this weekend to prep for this episode. Yeah.
I was gonna say, I guess to be fair, we're talking with someone who probably plays him really fucking well.
Don't worry, we'll have some specific questions about that for you later. I do like that the first place your mind went to when you saw the thing about the soldiers was like actual history, and mine went straight to Starship Troopers.
I mean, that works too. Like Starship Troopers.
More meat for the grinder.
Gory, but great movie.
Love that movie. It is a favorite.
Did anyone else kind of get the feeling that like Zed was to Kane what Silco was to Powder when he sees him? It's like, ooh, there's someone that can be molded.
I like that connection.
Well,
no, I really like this relationship between Zed and Kane. Even just hearing about it, the idea of it, I like more of that for sure.
Agreed. I think that's a big thing. I kind of wish we got more of from the comic. He just has like, he's in the background for a lot of it. It has like one significant moment in that relationship, but I think it needs more. I think it needs more work, And I think about Silco, I mean, I disagree because I think Silco was almost always kind of on the place of like sympathy with Powder and Jinx for the most part.
That's true. Yeah.
Whereas Zed, it explicitly states like, oh yeah, I can use this guy. He no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He sees him as a weapon, which I find it's interesting too. The whole I was gonna say the idea of him being the weapon, because that's what Aphelios's like line is, isn't it? Right? Isn't that his subtitle?
Another person who just uses a ton of weapons and thinks they're the weapon. It doesn't count.
That his spirit sister sends him.
Yeah.
I would say I don't know. I actually don't agree, because I think Silco and Powder turning into future Jinx was just like I felt it was much less of that, more like a manipulation rather than actual trying to like help them in a direction where they could use them. I felt like it was just like straight up almost psychological manipulation and torture in a weird way. Like there wasn't anything, we never saw any sort of explicit torture or anything like that, but it felt different to me. Whereas like through just the stories, absolutely I would agree with you, but reading through the comics, I definitely got a more sense of Kane is actually like Zed actually cares about Kane. He's not just some pawn for him to use. It's not like Swain and any of the people that serve under Noxus, where he just does not care at all. It's all about the conquest and the furthering of the Noxian state. Like it feels much more of a two-way street, where it's like I care about you. I'm gonna as long as you're actually holding true to your values and to the Shadow Order, then we'll be we're cool, and I can continue to teach you, and you'll help me with stuff. But I think that if Kane were to say I don't want to do this anymore, Zed would be totally fine with that too. He would respect it.
Yeah, I think that's definitely much more like, I completely agree that that's the depiction in the comic, especially. I think it actually either there's a disconnect between it and like the bio, because like I said, in the bio I think it pretty explicitly states Zed saw him as a weapon he could turn against, Noxus's own weapon turned against them, right? And if the relationship has changed, that would be great, and I would love to like maybe see that, and how Zed has looking back on it, like at the end of that Zed comic, kind of realizing, oh, I've kind of come to care for Kane, and we kind of have a bond, whereas it started out so mercenary, I guess, for lack of a better word,
Yeah.
But what do you think the coffee cup that Kane would make for Zed would look like?
One half would be all blue, one half be all red, maybe.
I don't think you would make it for him. They would sculpt it together ghost style.
Ooh. Half blue, half red.
I like the ghost sculpting. That one, you got an image in my head.
All right, so short story.
Short story.
Sure. Before that, one other thing. When we were talking about Karma, we were talking about wanting to see how Noxus fought Ionia and this very spiritual people. And I thought the idea of using child soldiers was an interesting psychological warfare tactic. When it's like, okay, you're so pure and aren't going to hurt anything. Here's some 10-year-olds with swords.
Another example of stuff like that is, if we want to take it away from real world, because that actually happens in real life, is in with Fallout New Vegas. Like Caesar's Legion will do that to people. Like they'll have kids like hold on to a mine or something, and then when one of the New California Republic soldiers goes to say like, "Oh kid, are you okay?" and then the Legion soldier will just detonate it and blow them both up, which is terrifying and tactically very smart too. Like I have to respect it even though I hate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the first time we heard about that being something used against Ionia. I assume it's because Riot hadn't thought about it until they made Kane.
Yeah.
But it really does change how you could look at how Karma fought in that battle, and Aurelia as well. But I also don't know if they also just throw child soldiers. It sounded like, Zed had mentioned in Kane's bio that it was honestly just a warning from Noxus. Like it wasn't meant to tactically take over anything. It was just here's some fucked up shit, we come in kind of thing.
Yeah, and they did also make a special point. We mentioned that it was under Borum. It was like a specific Dark Wolf strategy, and that's kind of important because as we go into the old lore,
old lore,
I have just a tiny little bit about old Kane.
What? Kane has new lore already?
They changed very little. I'll just kind of go over what they changed. There's a few tiny details. One of them is that he didn't have a full name. His full name was Kane.
It took him years to figure out what to name that boy.
Right. The other change was that it doesn't mention anything about Borum Darkwill or the Battle at the Placidium.
Okay.
They specifically added that in recently, probably because they've been trying really hard to move Noxus in the direction of morally gray as opposed to what they originally were. And I think making it clear that, like, hey, there's this horrible shit they're doing, but it's by this guy that got deposed, so we're cool now.
Yeah, I don't feel, from when we did Darius, I don't think Darius would be hella cool with sending a bunch of 10-year-old soldiers to battle, as much as he does anything for Noxus. I don't think, that's not really his style. He'd be like, no, I'm gonna go in there and fucking kill him. What, you need children to fight your battles for you? Get
I'll
out
not
of here.
have them steal my glory.
Yeah, kind of.
It's interesting. It's interesting that you bring him up because Darius kind of was inducted into like a military war band as a child, right? I think, more to that point, I think what Darius might look at that and say is that here's a kid who didn't run, survived, maybe killed some Ionians at 10 years old, and you just left him there. You didn't take him with you and train him. Like, he would probably execute that commander, right? For that
For
failing.
sure.
Like, you take
and
that
then he would
10-year-old
adopt Kane.
and you give him every weapon available.
Yeah.
The other thing I was going to say I like about this is I really like the way it ends because it feels like it's the start of a story. The summary doesn't really do it justice, but like if you just go read that last paragraph, it frames it very much as like, and here's the start of the active story of Kane. And I could picture this like the first episode of the anime that is the Kane, show. From the way
I'd watch that.
I wish more bios did it, frankly, where it was like, here's the backdrop and stuff, and now everything that's important really for the character and their main struggle, we're going to show you in the stories, which I don't think they really did, but it was a good setup at least.
Yeah, they put themselves in a good position.
Does this story, does Kane not give with the sort of Noxian child soldier endorsement kind of idea, not give anyone Rel vibes, although done way better?
Oh, we haven't gotten to R yet.
No,
I know a little bit about Rels, and I kind of agree. I'm not a huge fan of Rels lore that I'm aware of.
You can't
I
be. It's a terrible done.
Really
it's a terribly done lore. If you like Rel's lore, you don't know what good lore is. So
that was kind of my feel. I remember
line.
really being getting like the summary of it and being like, I really don't like this.
Yeah.
Maybe in execution it's better, but I haven't sat down and read it. But I trust you if you say it's crap.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's worse than Seraphine's release, and they completely redid Seraphine's release because people hated it so much.
Yeah.
Interesting.
People have a lot of hate for Seraphine.
Yeah. Well, I'll be really curious to draw that comparison when we get to her then.
Yeah.
All right, so we're doing the short story.
Let's
do
do it.
Yeah.
It's called The Blade of Millennia by Michael McCarthy.
Same writer.
I was going to say the bio is also Michael McCarthy for the record.
Yeah. So this is actually this was a story I wanted to see because it's showing us Kane when he gets Rhaast, and it's flashback to him. He's out. He's recovering Rhaast. They're moving it to the Immortal Bastion, and he is kind of. It actually starts with him staring down a fellow acolyte, a guy named Nakuri, and it cuts back to earlier in the day where Kane he's there to intercept the weapon. There were some reports like, ooh, if anyone who touches it is like immediately consumed by its hate and malevolence and just dies painfully. So he kills this Noxian caravan that's coming up, and he actually lets the last guard go to go just tell them about him, like let them know what happened here. And Nakuri kind of pops out of the shadows and kills the last guy. And then we skip to them kind of both attacking the main caravan. A soldier grabs a hold of the darkened weapon Rhaast and is immediately like taken over and just starts killing his fellow soldiers left and right, like completely out of control. Kane ults him. It's a pretty cool depiction of the Kane ult, I thought. And he gets this like flash of like Rhaast's mind's eye. Like it's a little moment of like, again, Lord of the Rings, like putting the ring on and getting that like Sauron eye in your brain for just a moment. And he starts kind of reaching for Rhaast, and this is where Nakuri is all like, no, don't. We gotta destroy it. and Kane says, no, I'm gonna fucking take it. And so Rhaast starts speaking. He has like a line to Kane before, Kane knuckles up and gets ready to kill Nakuri. And then the story ends. And that's it.
So they made a point of mentioning in this story that he mastered the shadows and that he also mastered fear. and he's mastered every weapon. Come on, Kane, leave something for the rest of us.
A little bit of a Mary Sue here.
So, like, what did you think of this from, like, because I thought this one did a pretty good job of depicting his in-game abilities, at least his sort of base ones, in different ways. Like, did that kind of line up with the play experience?
Yeah, I mean, there's no story. I mean, the story doesn't like address his passive at all, really, because it's almost impossible to do that. Although maybe the lure did when we get to that story. But
so for what's his passive for anyone who maybe doesn't know out there? I know it, but for anyone else.
Yeah, so it's basically Kane is neither Shadow Assassin nor Rhaast when the game starts, and depending on when you do damage to enemy champions in combat, they drop these little orbs that when combat is over, whether that's they die, you just leave combat, they automatically fly into Kane. And if you attack ranged characters, they drop blue orbs. If you attack melee characters, they drop red orbs. And basically, once you collect, I don't know how many orbs it is, but like X number of orbs, whatever higher percentage of them were red or blue determines then you can change. If you collect a higher percentage of red, you can turn into Rhaast immediately on your next recall, or you can turn into Shadow Assassin. But let's say that you want to be Shadow Assassin, but they have 4 melees, and you end up getting a boatload more reds. Then once you unlock the ability to transform, you can just wait 4 minutes, and then it's like a little HUD thing on his actual character icon. Then you just click the other form, and you turn into the other form. So you're not locked out from either way just based on the enemy comp. But once you turn into one of them, you are stuck as that for the rest of the game. So you can't, turn into Rhaast and be like, maybe I want to go Shadow Assassin now. It doesn't work like that. So generally, people who play Kane decide which form they're going in champ select, because you're going to want to go different runes. And it completely depends based on your comp and the enemy comp. So if you find yourself playing Kane and going into it and not knowing which form you're going to go, you've already messed up. Is kind of like once you start to play him and stuff. So that's his passive's not so played out. But Mark, to your point, I think that he's like, I definitely saw his E where he can like float through walls, become like a shadow ethereally through walls. Definitely you saw that. I mean, they straight up referenced it in not explicit word, or they didn't say like the words of whatever the ability's called. I think it's called like Shadow Step or something. But yeah, and then he does definitely ult someone as well, which is Umbral Trespass. So they don't really use that, but it has the same effect as the name and the ability as well. He doesn't have his sickle yet in this story. Like, he doesn't actually have it except for, right at the very end. So you don't get to see the Q. It doesn't really happen. That's where he does the mini dash and the spin, which does damage twice and can trespass terrain, or the W, which is where he just kind of like swings out the scythe. Its blades reach and does damage and slows enemies in base form Kane. So you don't see those, but you do see the E and the R.
And I like that we just bitched about Kassadin, how his lore focuses on his nether blade, when his abilities in game that Kassadin by, no one gives a shit about his nether blade. But I've never played Kane, but I've played against Kane. And his two abilities that I know are his ability to walk through walls and fuck me, and his ability to jump into my body and fuck me.
Oh.
So I'm glad that those two were...
Daddy.
Man. It's a good point, honestly. I think you got a really good point that kind of hitting those really iconic abilities. Because like you said, those are the things that, when I think of Kane, it's exactly those two things. It's going inside of people and going inside of walls. He's always in and out. I could be wrong.
Oh God! Wait, this is taking a turn.
So
I thought he uses his Q. I thought he had a little dash in there.
I mean, he might have he appears in people's shadows behind them or in front of them, but that's not really the dash. And the scythe is a big thing because he dashes forward and then spins it in a circle. So it's very scythe-y, his Q is. But I'd imagine that what you guys are talking about, why you view Kane that way, is that you see Blue Kane way more, the Shadow Assassin Kane, which Blue Kane has been more popular in recent metas, so it totally makes sense. And as I know you guys play a lot of ARAMs compared to norms, you see Blue Kane way more in ARAM because Red Kane is just not very good against most ARAM comps. When I think of Kayn, I definitely think Rhaast more because I enjoy playing that form more, and that's red Kayn. So I think of more the W, which is the same thing, but it actually knocks people up, and it's not a short knockup. It's like a Cho'Gath Q knockup, and not flying through walls at crazy speed. It's more of just like a slow trespass, but I think the heal is larger, and the insane healing, the drain tank style, which I think is going to be more favorable this year coming up because there's more bruisers and less assassins. But
yeah.
That was something I was kind of wondering about. Was like, is it often the case that one of the forms is kind of overbearingly strong? Is it like if you're good enough, you can kind of make both work? Like, could you force Rhaast in every game if you were just like, I only want to ever be red?
So I mean, you can do it because the game lets you. I would say if you're gonna force one, you're gonna be more successful forcing Shadow Assassin, just because. So last year when the item rework came out, it was. For most of the year, it was super popular to go Blue Kayn and build Gore Drinker and Conqueror and just go like Bruiser, but you're building Blue Kayn, and because of how it transforms as passive, so when you're in Blue Kayn, you get an additional, for the first 3 seconds of combat, 30% of the damage you do is dealt as additional magic damage, so you're dealing hybrid damage there. And being tanky and having the mobility, you're able to dash in and out of combat and not be killed, and so you can do that, or you can go straight up lethality and one shot squishies, or not necessarily squishies sometimes too. So you can definitely hard force that. Hard forcing Rhaast is hard because you can't really go anything other than Bruiser on Rhaast just because of the way that his kit limits you. He doesn't have, he has mobility because it's Kayn, but we're not talking fast mobility. Doesn't do crazy damage either, just because you want to be building these drain tanky items, right? Like his passive transforms into, I think it's like a third of all damage he does to enemy champions is returned as health. Like he heals for all of that, and then the Q does max health damage on people, and his ult heals him for a portion of the enemy's max health plus additional AD ratio. So you want to be building things like, a Gore Drinker is perfect for Red Kayn right now, and then Sterix and like a Spirit Visage and a Death Dance. So you want to be, and those items and other situational stuff, of course. It's not like there's not a template for any specific game, I want that said. But you want to be going more drain tanky items just because of the way that the kit limits you there. If you were able to go more lethality items and still be able to heal through it, there would be a huge problem. So and Kayn is problematic and people hate him, and I get it, but
agreed.
Yeah,
a few more details I wanted to touch upon before we move into cinematics or anything like that. Just kind of in difference between his original bio I found interesting. His original bio also does not mention the province of Barl, which is notedly where the chemical weapons were first used against Ionia, and is also the province where the villages of Tavasa and Wuju are located, which makes Barl the home province of Master Yi. I get why they used chemical weapons there now.
Damn.
EOP. Oh, you nerd.
Yeah.
Okay, so John, I know you had some questions. Did you want to do that first and then do the AUs, or did you want to jump into non-canon Kayn first?
Do we want to talk about
sure.
the comic at all too? Because he does.
Oh, true.
He has like one
Yeah,
kind of big moment in the sixth issue. I guess I'd say.
Yes, classically, we're going through the Zed comic again before ever getting to Zed. This is our third time, I think.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yep.
Yeah, I try and hit it quick. I mean, like I said, he kind of is hanging around in the background for the most of this comic. Does he do much else? Am I missing anything? It's really just that sixth.
I mean, the end of the fifth one, where he says that he's going to go speak to the new master of the Shadow Order, because Zed's not around, and then one of the other acolytes is like, no, we're never supposed to do that, and he says, I'm the leader now, you listen to me, which was fulfilling like the end of his origin story, was saying that he wanted to be the head of the Shadow Order, and then it was kind of cool how they made him full circle there, I thought. But I don't think there's a lot of other important stuff other than how hard he's flirting with Akali.
Oh yeah, super hard.
Yeah, they have like
which I thought was
Although
funny.
the moment you mentioned there too, I think is doubly important, because I know when issue 1 happens and we see Kane for the first time, we see his arm, and it's clear that he does not have the same level of
like physical
corruption on his arm. So I thought like, oh, maybe he just got Rhaast. Maybe he just hasn't been corrupted as much. But the moment that you talked about, when he gets mad, that corruption just fucking pops up, and his whole arm, he looks like in-game Kane with that shit. And I think that's the first place that we technically see that he might be able to like make that go away and just go back to being regular Kane, like on demand potentially. Like maybe he doesn't control when it comes out, it just happens when he's pissy, but he has the ability to be like, all right, and I'm back now, and the corruption just disappears. It's not there all the time like the in-game model would kind of have you believe.
Yeah, that's true. He seems very in control kind of throughout that comic, honestly, because he really does turn it on and off like a switch, don't he? But that's a really good point that you kind of brought up, that, yeah, he gets named successor to the Order of the Shadow a few comics in. I wish that moment got a bit more like pomp and circumstance almost, because it's just kind of like this little corner panel, but it's a really big thing, right, for him as a character, because he kind of goes back to Ion. Like the bio ends with him heading back to Zed, like ready to be named the successor. So like this is a big accomplishment for him to finally get that, that thumbs up, right? And then I guess the big thing at the end is that he is seemingly taken control of the Order of Shadow away from Zed, and Kusho, their patron, commands him, strike him down and take your rightful place at my side. And Kane, kind of a little surprisingly, doesn't. He stays loyal to Zed, and instead goes out to go kill all the students who turned on Zed. And then we do kind of see in the last panels, Kane kind of explaining that, well, I was nothing. I was arrow fodder, and you raised me, and you cared for me, and you gave me purpose. So I'm loyal to you, and I'm going to stay loyal to you. And they walk off into the sunset together, even at the very end.
Aww. That's fun. That's like a way to really give layers to Kane, because like he's a fun character, the way he fights with Rhaast a lot, and like the arrogance would kind of lead you to believe that like he wouldn't have that level of loyalty, but it is more interesting that he does.
And I do like, and this was kind of a Savika moment in my head, where he very specifically said, like, yeah, Kane and I might end up dueling, or Zed and I might end up dueling someday, but it's not going to be because you tell me to. Like,
yeah, he stays arrogant while still kind of, it makes sense, right? It's done in a way that to me makes sense for the character.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
And to your point about the Akali flirting too.
Okay.
Akali has a line here where he's just like, what's the matter, Kane? You run out of shirts?
She's into it. He's like, I'm a hard body, you're a hard body. We'd be hard bodies together,
I could see it, honestly. I could see it working.
Sometimes you gotta get it out of your system.
Danger flirting in my notes.
She does say
danger flirting.
She does say that she thinks Kane is like pretty hot, but that he's crazy because like his eyes make him look too crazy, which is, I mean, some of Rhaast's corruption has gone into changing at least one of his eyes. It's depending on, as we said, like his mood and what's going on. But I thought that was pretty funny.
You think it shows up when he's in the sack? Like, you think he gets a little bit of that?
Oh my god!
You think Rhaast like tells him like, do this, do that?
You're doing it wrong. You both have. I mean, Rhaast probably has a lot more experience.
Or not. Maybe he's like, whoa, I've never seen that before. What do you call that move?
He was too busy being an Ascendant.
So you're thinking,
right. You were busy
thinking like Rhaast
being an Ascendant.
Thinking like Rhaast would be planting like ideas in his head to go like, do some choking or something like that. That because it borders the line onto killing and stuff like Rhaast is all into.
Yeah.
Oh man. I didn't think we'd talk about Kane's kinks, but here we are.
Yeah.
I did also like the final line as they're walking away into the sunset.
Just
and
real
Kane's
quick.
just giving Zed shit about, man, Shen really beat the shit out of you, huh?
What a great name for Kane's sex shop, though, huh? Kane's kinks.
Oh, that's pretty
Kinks.
good. I like
pretty
Kane's
good.
chains, but Kane's chains
Oh,
and more.
that's so much better, Mark.
Kane's chains, kinks, and more. I don't know. It's great.
Ooh.
You know what? You just do whatever you want. It works in so many ways. Yeah.
Kane's chains.
Oh, so that's something from the short story that I did like, is they talk about how, the weapon's so dangerous. They've got it all wrapped up in, like, burlap and chains. It's very, like, Final Fantasy JRPG weapon type, like Soul Calibur was what I was thinking a lot. Which Ross kind of is.
That's true.
He's the Soul Calibur.
He is
I don't know anything
Soul
about Soul
Edge.
Calibur.
You were close.
Yeah, he is the soul edge, basically.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
With the eye and everything.
Yeah.
All I know is that everyone's half naked in that game. Well, the women are.
That's every game.
No.
Every fighting game.
Yeah. Even Super Smash Brothers.
Yeah, kind of true. Yeah.
John, no.
Pyra, Mithra.
Kirby.
Jigglypuff.
I know Kirby's one of the almost fully naked if he didn't have those fun shoes on.
Jigglypuff's got a bow. They're all dressed up.
Keep them decent.
Although, Pokemon they look the same, almost the same when they're both genders, so we don't know if that is male or female Jigglypuff.
That's very true.
It's true.
Yeah.
What are we talking about again? Kane?
Oh, yeah. Kane. All right.
So I've got some
Really
Kane cinematics. So Kane's part of a few cinematics. First, just I had his teaser trailer on release where you see you basically get an overview of his gameplay. You get to see that blue form comes from range champions as he's fighting a hapless Ash who surely is wearing Thornmail. And red form comes from melee enemies like Scion, who is exactly the one I'm sure you want to alt if you're playing Red Kane.
You would absolutely love to. I mean, that's him or Cho'Gath would be the highest value ultimate you could get.
Really? I don't know these things.
Well, yeah, because your ult heals you for... Okay, so you healed for like a third of all damage dealt or something like that. And then the ult also heals you for some flat amount plus some AD plus a percent of the enemy's max health. So if you're in like a 6,000 health Cho'Gath, you're going to heal for several hundred to maybe 1,000 health just popping out if you have no heal reduction.
Like picking a blanket. Oh, fuck. Be snug as a bug in a rug in that motherfucker.
Right. Man, how come all the
didn't
Kanes
know
in the
that.
games are always ulting my
why are
AD
you-
carry ass? Come on.
I'm playing Lux, man. I got like 800 health. Why are you holding me?
Because they're blue Kane, and as soon as they ult
Yeah.
you die, and they go away and kill the next person. Yeah.
That's true.
I like the red one
Now,
more.
he also, he shows up in Just One More, which is that one where it's inspired by the true story of the 5 North American League of Legends players with the longest losing streak in one sitting. And in this cinematic, their team gets one shot by what looks to be Shadow Assassin Kane. Just kills all of them. And that's going to be a common thing in Solo Darius, which is one of the player spotlight cinematics, and this one is about solo Renekton only. He's playing Darius, and he's ambushed by Vi, Thresh, and Kane, but handily defeats all of them. And then Spooky Jinx, which is another one of those types of cinematics. This one focuses on KP. She's playing Jinx, and she 1v1s a Kane.
Second time we talked about KP and I'm wearing her hoodie.
Hell yeah.
Here.
Jinx 1v1ing a Kane would be possible, I'd say only until Kane transforms. Because until Kane transforms, he's like 75% of a champion, if that. He's the worst champion in the game, undoubtedly.
And it did look transformed, so that makes sense.
Okay.
Can I ask, is it like just a raw stats thing? Like, does he get a lot of stats on transform? Is it just that his abilities like need those extra like things to really kind of work?
Yeah, to my knowledge, he doesn't get any additional stats on the transform. It's the
Okay.
extra abilities because you don't have a passive. your passive is collecting orbs. It doesn't do anything. So you're literally a champion without a passive. And then, yeah, your W does damage and it slows, but it's not the Shadow Assassin. You can do it with no cast time. It does crazy damage and it reaches further, or it doesn't knock up like it does in red form. Your Q is blah. It does nothing. I mean, it's fine, but it's not anything crazy. It doesn't heal you. It doesn't do max health damage. The E is just the same as Red Kane E, so it's not bad. And the ult has no additional stuff. It just does damage. It doesn't heal you. It doesn't reset your passive like it does for Blue Kane. You can't pop out super far. You can't stay in super long. It's just like he's underwhelming everywhere. It's like if they took a really strong champion and nerfed him into the ground all over the place. That's what Kane is until he gets his transform. So until then, bully him. Take jungle camps as much as you can, because once he hits the transform, once he gets a couple items, it's a different story.
Interesting. That's good to know, honestly.
If you want to see how terrible untransformed Kane is, there was a game in LCS a couple of years ago where Spica, I don't know what team it was at the time, I think TSM, it was like his first game on stage, and they had him play Kane, and it was like 25 minutes, and he still did not transform. So the amount of orbs that you get from damaging champions, as time goes on, you get more orbs. So you can transform it like 3 minutes or something if you're literally constantly battling, but it's really hard. Whereas if you were to do, like 100 damage, that would do, let's say it generates like 10 orbs at level 3, the multiplication increases later on. So if you're at like level 10, it would do, like 3 or 4 times as many orbs. It's trying to push you to transform. So the fact that it was a 25-minute pro game and still had not transformed is impressive.
Bullying poor Spica.
I was gonna say, that sounds. I kind of want to watch it, but it sounds like watching somebody slowly die. It's just like.
They were making jokes about him all the time, and it's good to watch. It's fun to watch for sure.
I was curious about that because I was wondering, like, obviously you need to get into fights to get your transform, and it sounds like you're really hamstrung, and you wouldn't want to get into fights. So
you gotta rely on your team, for those fights, like when you gank.
Yeah,
that's what I love.
Yeah, you got to do stuff like that, and you can't. A lot of champions you can't brawl 1v1 in the jungle, or what I like to do is, you don't even have to necessarily get a kill off ganking. You could come in for a drive-by, get a little bit of damage down, and then walk away. Like, it doesn't super matter. You don't have to kill them. Whereas if you're playing like a Shaco or something, if you don't get that kill early, you're screwed. Whereas Kane, like, you just need to get your orbs. So if you're trying to go blue Kane, camp bot lane. If you're trying to go red Kane, camp a lane with melees. Whether it could be mid lane, but hop in, damage the jungle, or hop back out off the walls, go into top lane and stuff like that. That's where you'll see what they're trying to do. Yeah.
Interesting.
All right.
Neat.
Now, most importantly, he's also in the Represent video. Or more accurately, Rhaast is in the Represent video in a pile of a bunch of weapons.
A pile of weapons. Cool.
The deep lore.
Thanks.
And there's apparently, according to the wiki, there's Shadow Kane and Rhaast on one of the advertisements in the Giants video. I could not find it, so if you can, send me a screenshot.
Give you a prize.
Needs to know.
All right, let's talk some quotes. Y'all have some favorite Kane quotes that stuck out to you that warranted discussion? The only one that I wrote down here was the Rhaast quote, Zed's dead, baby. Zed's dead, which is a Pulp Fiction quote.
I was surprised he had so few references. I like a lot of the Dark and Rhaast quotes. He's a really... His VO is really fun, I thought. Like, he's got one where he's like, let's go make some corpses. Or, like, after he transforms, he's like, oh, these legs are going to take some getting used to. He's kind of a fun guy, I find.
He's just a quirky guy.
Wild and crazy guy.
He likes to kill, loves piles of corpses, legs.
So something that I noticed that I'd never seen before, so this isn't a quote, sorry to tangent, but when he's in Red Kane form, he doesn't have feet, he has hooves. So
oh really?
Yeah, I noticed it was actually like a horse hoof. So makes you wonder what he looked like before he was trapped in his weapon then.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it now.
Most of the
That's so
Ascended are
cool.
kind of like part animal, part human, so I'm curious what animal he was.
Goat.
Maybe. You said it with such confidence.
Yeah.
He's got to
I
go.
was right.
He's like the guy from The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, but with a scythe.
Mr. Thomas.
Mr. Tom is looking
Yeah.
fucked up lately. That's a really cool detail. I never noticed that before. That's neat. That's a really neat
Next time
visual
I'm
design.
against a Kane, I'm going to be like, hang on, I want to look at your feet. Stop trying to kill me.
You won't see it against Blue
Now-
Kane though, because obviously he's still the human.
Now, question, because I do not play junglers, and I noticed this with Kane. Is it common for junglers to have specific quotes about how hard the Rift Scuttle is to kill? Because he has a lot of Rift Scuttle quotes
He really
in all
does.
of his forms.
I cannot tell you because in game I don't pay that much attention to the quotes, so I could not tell you.
Yeah.
But I would not be surprised if the sort of the edgy style characters do have quotes like that. If I'm trying to think of ones off the top of my head, like I wouldn't be surprised if Vi might have some quote about Rift Scuttle, or if like I don't know, Hecarim, or I think Ivern might have something where it's like, let's return you to the river forest or something. I'm not sure, but
Aw.
but I wouldn't be surprised about it.
Man, they never redid Vi's VO, actually, so I'd be surprised if...
She has anything on the...
It would be cool too.
God, I'm
It's
curious, was Rift Scuttle a thing when she was released?
absolutely
No, hell-
not. It
hell
was
fucking
not
no.
even
Don't even-
close to being a thing.
Let's see. When was Vi
I don't even
released?
think they weren't doing specific quotes like that too. Like if you haven't been playing League for a really long time, like having quotes when you placed wards or like killed certain jungle creeps, like they didn't have specific quotes for that. Like that wasn't a thing. It's pretty cool. I think the first one I noticed was because I play supports, is that if you healed or shielded Zaya, she would go, thank you. And I was like, oh my god, she thanked me. Because my fucking AD carry's not gonna.
Get actual misty eyed.
No, not back then.
But yeah, she was released December 19th, 2012.
Yeah, she's an old bitch.
Yeah, there's no way. I'm looking for Rift Scuttle, but I don't remember, if I'm thinking back to, like, because I've watched all the Worlds before, the Worlds Finals. I don't remember Rift Scuttle being until Season 6, so that's 2016. No way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah. All right, throw down some quick AEs for us, John.
Yeah, I've only got a few, so, well, Kane's only got a few.
Yeah.
So first one is Nightbringer, and this one is Nightbringer Kane. The AU itself doesn't have any real lore behind it, but Kane
Okay.
does. Rhaast was once an Archon of Light, a beacon of order, and now he is little more than a weapon in the hands of Kane, an ambitious demigod of dusk seeking true godhood. The two war within Kane's own body, each determined to overthrow the other and lay claim to true divinity. And this one also has a prestige skin. Kayn and Rhaast are forged anew in the crucible of their clash. No longer are they a mere weapon, a mere demigod. They are forces of nature, warping each other and the raw energy around them, each hurtling towards a victory sure to shake the firmament itself.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we've got Odyssey.
This is where the long ass short story came
this
from.
is, so this one, the Great Demoxian Empire has laid claim to almost every inhabited system, ignoring the objections of the ancient Templar Order and the criminal syndicate alike, in pursuit of the wondrous bounty of Aura. This mysterious golden essence, drawn from the vast majestic creatures that patrol the stars, is the lifeblood of all civilization, but also promises untold power to those who can wield it for themselves.
Dun dun dun.
So, yeah. So Kane, Odyssey Kane, a supremely confident military tactician in the Locus Armada, Sheeta Kane has ascended to become one of the ordinals of the Demoxian Empire, carrying out the will of Emperor Jarvan IV himself. Kane has become obsessed with harnessing as much raw aura as he can within his body, even though such things are forbidden. Following the silent whisper of a strange esoteric power, he believes this process will turn him into an invincible, immortal being. He is wrong. Even so, Kane has learned that he needs Sona, one of the few individuals in the galaxy who can guide him toward fully unlocking his latent powers through the mythical, poorly understood artifact known as the Aura Gate. Though he was once fiercely loyal to his emperor, Kane has become obsessed with his personal hunt for the Morning Star, which is where Sona is, and will not hesitate to kill any who cross his path. He's charismatic, charming, nonchalant, a well-spoken man who appreciates the grandeur and spectacle of his own violence, and someone who enjoys the thought of being the greatest threat the universe has ever known. Little does he know, the actual greatest threat the universe has ever known is resting comfortably in his left hand.
Ooh.
It's his dick. No, I'm sorry.
That's a good name for it, I will say. The greatest threat the universe has ever known.
And Jinx has a crush on him.
He does, yeah. So
that's all I know about the Odyssey that I hate you.
So he's in a cinematic called Welcome Aboard, where it's basically a recruitment video featuring Jinx and the crew of the Morning Star, where we find out she has a thing for Kane, who is actively hunting them. She watches a video of him murdering folks, on his way to get them, on repeat, because, she digs it.
Hot. Yeah.
They're robots, if it makes it any better.
That's fair. Yeah, Jinx isn't, super evil in this AU, which is fun.
That we know of.
Dun, dun, dun.
Now, the short story
Jesus Christ.
here is called The Lore by Dan Abnett.
It's called The Lore?
The Lore.
Oh, like lure, like Lure.
Like a fishing
I
lure.
thought you said it was called The Lore.
Lure.
Let's keep saying the word lure.
So, basically, Kane... one thing of note is that Nikori is alive in this, and he's found something suspicious, so he calls Kane in for backup. Kane ignores some orders that Jarvan had given him and a mission to go follow up with Nikori. When he gets there, they have a bunch of Templars captive who had fled with Aura. Kane wants to know why they fled here and threatens to kill someone if he doesn't get answers. Unfortunately, he chooses Sona, who, for obvious reasons, cannot give him answers. Before he can figure that out, though, he's attacked by Syndicate ships who are here because the head of the group kind of heard a voice calling to him from across the galaxy, and he is here to claim it. There's a big fight, and Kane and Nikori's men manage to take down their ships, but Nikori loses a few men in the process. So they descend down to the cave, and they find Rhaast there. They also see some real weirdness here. It seems that Rhaast is not from this universe.
He's from the universe of Runeterra.
Well, he is from a different AU universe.
Oh my God, really? Okay, right.
This. So Rhaast kind of tells Kane he's going to be tested, and then he goes ahead and gets inside the mind of all the people that are here, and basically tells them all, you're the chosen one, but you've got to kill everyone to claim me. So everybody starts fighting each other and going crazy. So Kane has to fight Nikori and all his men. And then apparently the corruption spread as far as Nikori's ship, too, because the ship is approaching the planet to go ahead and kill Kane as well. So Kane has to call in his ship, the Fractal Shear, to destroy Nikori's ship, the Gentle Reminder. He manages to do that. He takes Rhaast and goes back to his ship. Now, throughout kind of the story, we get this relationship between Rhaast and his little battle training helper robot, who is called Kilo. Yeah. He's got very big. It's kind of a mixture of Baymax from Big Hero 6 merged with Marvin from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. If they were a 3/4 ton fight mech.
Did you ever play Force Unleashed? Either of those games?
Ooh, a long time ago.
I have watched my cousin play it.
Okay, then y'all all obviously know what I'm talking about. But it reminded me of this Star Killer because he has a similar fighting robot that's constantly trying to kill him.
It's a very cute relationship that they've got. It seems like the robot's always trying to pop out and surprise him. He's always ready for him. But it seems like he's trained Kane up to kind of be where he's at nowadays. And, he gets kind of sad when he can't surprise Kane anymore, and Kane's always real nice about it. But the story ends basically with these two who are kind of established friends he jumps out to surprise Kane, and Kane just fucking cuts him in half with Rhaast. It's
Aw.
like, surprise.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's this story. There was a lot more. I would say probably maybe halfway through the story is when Rhaast starts talking to Kane. So we get a decent amount of him poking and prodding Kane, and we get to see more of what he can do with him, like manipulating the minds of the people around there. But it was more kind of that type of relationship that we see in his quotes more than the other short stories that we got. So I would have loved to. I mean, I guess it'd be redundant to release another short story that was this but canon, but I would have loved a canon version of this and a shorter non-canon version of this story.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with you. Because, yeah, it was a lot more fun to see them interact. It was kind of fun to see. Kane was a lot of fun to spend time with in this. He's actually a pretty kind of fun character I liked.
Yeah.
And it was fun to see him kind of willingly engage with Rhaast, mostly out of like a sense of duty. Like, if I don't take you, you're going to keep causing this to happen, and you're going to keep fucking up the whole empire. So I'm going to take you, and I'll take care of it. And he's kind of in control, and kind of not, like we saw at the end. So it was a little. I found it to be a lot of fun and a nice little bit more, not like nuance. I don't know the exact word I'm looking for, but it played around with it a little bit more. And I thought that was a lot of fun.
Right. Like, you would have to change very little, I think, about this story to make it canon.
Yeah, it's almost just changed the setting back to Runeterra.
Exactly.
Yeah, which is
and
what
this
a
could
lot
be
of
very
their
canon.
A lot of their AUs are kind of like that.
So yeah, if you are looking for good canon stories, I would read this and just in your head shift the setting.
Yeah, honestly. And small correction, John, it wasn't a bunch of Templars. It were like followers of the Templars that they found, because it was only 2 Templars, and they killed the Templars. So
Right.
Wow. Actually.
How could you not get that right? God damn.
right.
So
Throughout
stupid.
the episode.
Oh no.
And finally, we've got the Event Horizon / Dark Star. In the vast darkness of space are born terrible, beautiful things, cosmic creatures of sublime love and the unknowable monstrosities of the Dark Star. These are the children of silent gods, and they are finally coming home. So Kane doesn't have a skin in this line, but Rhaast is from this skin line. He originated here before ending up in the Odyssey timeline. Basically, he ends up joining with Kane in the Odyssey universe by going through an Aura Gate. And then millennia later is when Kane finally finds him in that cave. So Rhaast is basically bent on destroying the Odyssey universe so that he can open the Aura Gate back up and allow the other Dark Star corruptants, because that is kind of his role in this AU. He's one of the many corruptants, like the other Dark Star skins, who's just kind of all about destruction and shit. He's going to open the gate and let all the other Dark Star corruptants in. So he kind of presents himself as the voice of the ubiquitous organic fuel known as Aura. He is a bloodthirsty monstrosity sealed in an ancient alien scythe. Unlike Kane, he does not particularly care about spectacle or showmanship. He mainly just likes to kill things. In this way, the two share an uneasy alliance, with Kane wanting to harvest as much aura as possible, and Rhaast wanting to snuff out as much life from the universe as he can. So, bound for untold aeons in various planetary backwaters, Rhaast has had plenty of time to consider his own master's true plans for the universe, beyond all the indiscriminate murder, and he doesn't mind holding off on them for now. Yeah, so he's basically just tricking. His whole role in this is he's tricking Kane. The reason that Kane's so obsessed with aura is because Rhaast is you're gonna be so powerful, you're gonna be so strong. But really, he just wants him to collect it so that Rhaast can take over his body and open the gate, because it requires a ton of aura.
Weird. You don't see a lot of AU crossovers really like that.
Don't, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even in that short story, Kane is making reference to, there's multi-dimensional particles and quantum entanglements and things, and he kind of seems to recognize, this seems to be, is the multiverse theory, real? Things like that. It's a nice way to
Gonna
play
show
with
up in
it.
Spider-Verse.
Frankly. How would you feel if you saw Kane and just show up randomly?
I would shit my pants. Are you kidding me?
She would. She's very incontinent.
Told you not to tell people, John. But oh my god, if like a lead character showed up in fucking Spider-Verse or some shit. Damn.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Now, I have some fun facts before I ask some additional
You have
questions.
a lot
our
of them,
guest.
so blow through them pretty
Just a
quickly.
handful. Just a
because this is
handful.
kind of long.
So Kane is voiced by Robbie Damon, while Rhaast is voiced by Sam A. Mowry.
You know who Robbie Damon voices? Tuxedo Mask.
Who? Oh, shit.
What?
Yeah. AKA Mama Lee.
Oh,
Spoiler.
thank you. Fucking love that.
The blue streak in Kane's hair is a result of using Rhaast.
Huh. The Ross is full of hair gel.
Yeah. That's canon, folks.
Just cracks him open and scoops it out.
Rhaast is anywhere between 3,496 and 4,396 years old.
Great.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
He doesn't look a day over 3,322 years old.
This guy.
You flirt. Darken roughly translates to the fallen.
Translates from what?
I would assume old Shuriman.
Okay. I was like,
Due to a localization error, Shadow Hunter Kane was released as Shower Hunter Kane in Russia.
That's a good
Very
one.
different champion.
The shower hunter.
That's stanky.
Odyssey Kane is a KDA fan, confirmed in his bio.
oh, hell yeah. He's got good taste.
I noticed somewhere that the Welcome Aboard cinematic might be a reference to the Sunset Overdrive trailer, which I had never seen before, so I went back and watched it, and yeah, I can see it. The second half of the trailer.
What is Sunset
specifically.
Overdrive?
It's like an old, God, what was it? Insomniac game?
Oh.
It's really
Yeah.
that old?
It was weird.
Am I just old?
It's not like old,
like
but it's not
2014.
like, you know. Yeah, that's like...
That was 8 years ago.
That's almost a full decade.
Hey, we were talking about fucking Chrono Cross and Chrono Trigger earlier. That's
Yeah,
old.
that's fair.
Let's see. The sound effects for the blood splatters from Kane's weapons started as water splatters in Riot's campus showers.
That's where Shower Hunter Kane comes
Shower
from.
Hunter Kane.
That's interesting that that's what that is, because when I hear like his weapon attacking something, it's almost like the sound of someone sharpening a knife.
Oh, interesting.
Weird.
They have very dangerous showers at Riot HQ. Let's see. Kane is one of 22 champions without a single ability power ratio on his abilities.
Oh.
So AP Kane, try it out today, folks.
Yeah.
Try it
Right
out.
here.
So I actually found a quote about this, so I thought it would be interesting to bring up here. This is a quote from the writer Cool Radius, who says, "The letter K feels punchy and aggressive, which is what we wanted for Kane. And also might be the reason why there's so many K champions in general."
Oh, God. Someone acknowledged it at Riot.
That's great.
Yeah. Kane's dance is the Reebok dance, which I had never seen.
No,
but
I've not heard of that.
If you watch the video, yep, that's it.
Okay.
I assume every dance is like a TikTok thing now. I don't know what those are.
Yeah, I will say I don't like Kane's dance very much, but if you have your laugh button bound to a key, he like spins his sights. You can make him go like basically like a Beyblade almost. If you just keep spinning,
nice.
and it's a way better dance than his actual dance.
See, those are them high mastery
Right.
tips that you'll only get here.
You would never. Only
your
someone with a
laugh.
million mastery would know that.
I mean, well, that's just those are just the things you pick up when you're, it's like 30 seconds till minions spawn, and there's, you're 5 pointing as a team. Okay, what are you gonna do? You're gonna start spamming like buttons on there and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe
That's
people
true.
look at their phones and stuff, but I instead am like, oh, let me as Nautilus, let me do the joke and like fly through the air or bounce around as Zack as a bubble and stuff like that.
Yeah. The true League experience right there.
The best one, though, I will say, is if you slam Laugh as, or maybe it's Dance as Lilia. She does like it's almost like a prancing, and I don't want to do the sound because it'll like screw up the microphone. But it's basically like if a horse is running on cobblestone, and if you spam it, it's supposed to go like twice, but if you spam it, it's just like brrr, over and over and over and over and over again. Like they're just hitting cobblestone. It's pretty loud. It's probably if I laned with Lilia, I would bind it to every key as well. Just like how Singed players bind their lavs to every single key.
Yep.
Or people who play Battle Academia Caitlyn, because that is the most annoying laugh I have ever heard in this game.
The last fact I have is that Odyssey Kane's backing animation plays a remixed version of Mass Effect's Uncharted Worlds music.
Really?
What?
Really?
I love that music.
You're not fucking with me, right? That's really?
Yeah.
Oh.
That's crazy.
Now I'll have to hear it.
Yeah, right.
I don't know if it was intentional or not, but it's definitely what it is.
I'll trust you.
Is this like
You hear that music kind of a lot.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is this like the situation with like the Kale splash art where like this isn't plagiarism, right? I'm just trying to make that. That's what I'm trying to say.
No, I think remixes are fair game.
That's fair.
Music is hard.
It's called homage.
So this isn't like the Striker Lucian debacle that happened then.
No, this is not. Yeah, it's not like that.
I like how the music major just said, music is hard. Plagiarize.
It's not plagiarism.
It's artistic expression.
So yeah, that is Kane. I have a few additional kind of like follow-up questions for you, and then I'm going to hand it off to you to share your socials and where people can find you and the Trinity Force podcast.
Sweet.
First, if you could change a single thing about Kane's kit, what would it be?
Ooh, interesting. I would have Red Kane's Q, so Rhaast's Q, like instead of just doing additional damage, I'd like it also to either go faster or dash a little further. Because regardless of what form you're in, whether that's normal Kane, Rhaast, or Shadow Assassin, the Q it operates the same. The only time it actually does anything different is in Rhaast form. It does extra max health damage. So since Rhaast is supposed to be more of this, drain tank, you're hitting Q a lot, you're nigh unkillable, give that ability more power, because his E doesn't change at all, and his W is just a CC tool. So I'd do that.
I vote for faster because I don't like longer dashes.
That's fair.
As an immobile mage main.
I will say, the faster you're moving with Kane, the higher your move speed is, the faster it goes off. So if you get a zillion speed up or something, that's instant basically. And if you do it right,
Really?
It moves faster. So next time you're playing Kane and you have the home guard buff on, you're leaving, just press Q as you're going. It's like boom, it's instant.
Like a blink almost. That's wild. I didn't know that.
That's good to know that. Yeah, this is like, it's always so fascinating to learn these things because then there's so many times I die in League and I'm like, how the fuck did they just do that to me? Like the Warwick ult, I didn't realize that scaled off movement speed as well. I'm like, how did that fucker just fly across the map?
Yeah. Yep. I will
I had no clue.
also then with his Q, another thing is if you do go Gore Drinker, because Gore Drinker has like a weird cast time, so you want to go like hit your Q and then Gore Drinker right afterwards, as opposed to like the other way around. Generally, I mean, it depends on the situation you're in, but that's usually going to be faster if you're in the middle of a fight to get the health restore.
Okay.
All right. Nice. And if you could give one tip to any of our listeners who want to pick up Kane but have been nervous, what would it be?
Beginner Kane.
Yes. Decide what form you're going in Champ Select, because it's super important to have the right runes for Red Kane. Blue Kane, it's much more malleable because it's aged a lot better, but Red Kane, you need to make sure that you have the right runes, because if you have like, I don't know, let's say you have Comet, it's going to be really not fun and not good. Whereas like Blue Kane, you can make Comet work. When you fly in at someone, it does extra damage, you're slowing them and stuff, but you really kind of need Conqueror, or if you're in top lane, maybe Grasp or something, but you really want, I mean, I'm hard pressed to say there's any rune other than Conquer that you want to take on Red Kayn. So, and then also just so that your team is aware which one you're going to go, so that they can think about itemizing accordingly, or maybe they're deciding between two different champions or so. That being said, it is solo queue a lot of the time. I mean, if you're talking solo queue specifically, then teammates aren't necessarily going to pick for comps. I try to, but if you're playing on, more coordinated stuff like that, you want to be aware of which Kayn you're going before you go in as well. That's the biggest thing, I would say, if I had to pick one.
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't know, like, if my jungler was like, I'm going Red Kayn, I'd be like, cool, bro. I don't know what the fuck to do. I play 2 champions okay.
Well, but it's like, so, I mean, an example of like, okay, let's say you needed frontline versus, let's say, the ADC, top and mid were all squishies or something like that. You got like a Kale, you have some mage, and then you have, I don't know, some ADC, right? And then your supports deciding between like, I don't know, Pike or maybe like a Nautilus or a Galio or something like that. Okay, then if you need some sort of frontline against the other comp, you might go Red Kayn. Or if the other person's going to be fine being the tank, then you're free to go Blue Kayn if you want to. But otherwise, like, in order to round out the comp, you kind of need to go Red Kayn.
Interesting. So do you think that Kayn, like, it seems to me like Riot very obviously wanted Kayn to be very like a inherent flex pick, right? Do you think that he like they successfully executed on that? Because it sounds like there are definitely situations where, yeah, you can kind of, like you said, tweak what you're going to do to fit what your team needs. Or is it most of the time that you're, like, locked in based on kind of what's happening with the rest of the comps? Like, I don't know exactly how that all ties together.
So I'd say the idea of a flex pick, I think, refers differently to Kayn than it does to most other flex picks. So like a traditional flex pick would be like Gragas. Gragas can go top lane totally fine. He can jungle. He can go mid situationally. He can go support situationally as well. And most of the time, you're building him similar-ish. You may be going tanky, you may be going more glass cannon. That doesn't change all that much, and your rune might just change based off the matchup. Whereas Kayn you can't play him in ADC, really. You can't really play him in support. It would be terrible. Mid lane is not going to be fun unless you're facing like a set or something, but even then I think you're going to get blasted early, and that's Kayn's weakest part. And top lane as well, I think, is dicey depending on the matchup, unless you're facing like a Malphite that's going tank where you can absorb the orbs for free, but Malphite's already a champion that's kind of giving up lane early for the team fight power later on. So the way that Kayn works is he's build flexible and mode flexible, mode being frontline or bruiserish or assassin style or something like that. But because he's so vulnerable early and he doesn't have any innate healing in his kit other than his E, which is on a long cooldown and has a high mana cost, and you need to actually enter a wall to use it, which if you're in the middle of mid lane, you're just going to get the ghosted effect for 1.5 seconds, and then it's going to go away. So you need to be able to do that. Plus, you're also, if you're playing in a lane, you're kind of handicapping a lot of his skills, which is the mobility to move around and take other characters' jungle camps and come from really creative jungle routes, because you can gank from anywhere. You can even go outside the walls. So I think that really handcuffs him a lot. So he's not a flex pick in the normal sense. He's more flex pick in build and mode diversity.
Okay. Yeah. I was curious because you had mentioned when we were talking about runes a little bit, the idea of being top and taking grasp. So and that kind of answers what I was going to ask, is like, does he see a lot of play top, jungle? The reasons you kind of outlined.
Yeah, so, I mean, I remember in the end of Season 9, I think, Kane got a big buff on his Q. It got reduced to, 4 seconds 4 seconds at rank 1, or maybe 5 seconds at rank 1 or something, so it was really short. So he was seen some in top lane in solo queue and stuff, but they quickly nerfed that down because it made jungle Kayn way too oppressive because his kit is too good. It plays too well in the jungle for what he's doing, and he's kind of a liability elsewhere. So yeah, he doesn't. I mean, you can play him in other roles. Like you can play Pyke in mid lane right now. He's getting nerfed next patch or something. So you can do that. It's suboptimal.
Right. Yeah, I got you. Interesting. Yeah, I don't really know these things.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Before we kind of wrap up, where can people find you, and who might be interested in your podcast?
Yeah. So, first off, thanks for having me on. This was actually a lot of fun. Not that I expected it not to be a lot of fun. I was just reaffirming that I had fun.
What a surprise!
People can find our podcast, the Trinity Force Podcast, anywhere podcasts can be found. So before I joined, I listened on Spotify, but you can find them anywhere. So that's where you can find us. And, we also have a Discord and we have a website. So I think the website is trinityforcenetwork.com, but if you just Google Trinity Force Network, you will find the website where we have we post our episodes, as well as we have a couple of sister podcasts that also post on there. They're part of the network as well. And on there's links to the Discord. There's links to our other social medias. We have, a Twitter and a subreddit, and but the Discord is pretty active. We have community game nights every Tuesday, starting at 7:15 Eastern Standard Time, and that they usually go for anywhere between like 2 to 4 or 5 hours, depending on who's getting on and time zones and stuff like that. And they're streamed on our Twitch channel. Usually, I'm streaming them. And yeah, people hop in and we play some normals, but also if we have enough people, we play customs and custom ARAMs and stuff. It's a lot of fun. It's a great time. We host tournaments, as I said, like once every 3 or 4 months. So those get announced in our Discord as well. It all kind of operates around the Discord. But who would be interested in? Well, everyone should be interested. But if you choose not to be interested, that's fine. But I will say, if you're interested in getting instead of a 10-minute YouTube patch rundown from a site like Mobilytics or Pro Guides or something, if you want a longer form discussion with people who play different roles and different characters, analyzing what they expect and what they think of these changes, that's something that we do, because we go over every patch and we go through them holistically as well, and cover even some of the bug fixes and quality of life changes, which get skipped over by most other media content creators that cover them. But then we also have on non-patch weeks and non-patch episodes all sorts of stuff. We do listener questions, we do different analysis topics. We'll have on different interesting guests, and every 100th episode is a special quiz episode that we do. So give it another a little under a year, and we'll be at that again. But I mean, not to toot our own horn, but there's a reason that this is the longest running League podcast. It's that we have a good model, and the community, and there's a large active community. So please hop in and please hop in and listen and be a part of the community. It's a very welcoming and fun and active place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. Highly recommend it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Before we go, I want to do a quick shout out to our Medarda tier patrons. We've got Jeremy Rich, King of Hearts, and Mylect. Thank you so much for your patronage. It means the world to us, and you are all amazing.
Yeah. John has another parody video on our YouTube. Every week I say we post these on YouTube, but really you should go to the YouTube, because John has been writing parody songs, and now there's 3.
I did actually just make a playlist for them on our YouTube, so that exists now too.
Oh, nice.
Exciting.
To make it easier for people to find.
So that was Kane. We did it. Thank you for listening. We're on Twitter at Loreheads, and we also have a Discord. It's linked in the description of this episode. And please be sure to join us next week, because we're talking about John's most favorite champion. He's very excited. The Heart of the Tempest, Kayn.